not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring your ass. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
We got what we wanted around here. We got the smoke that we asked for in the form of the Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
Wolves and Warriors tomorrow night. And because the Wolves are the 6th seed and the Warriors are the 7th seed, the Wolves get the home court advantage. Game 1, Game 2, and then a Game 7 if needed inside Target Center. So we will go through all of the juicy potential storylines. We'll get into the actual on-court matchup here. A shout-out to Heather, Wolves Realtor, who's been supporting our show here throughout Wolves season.
Yeah, Heather's been helping us out, and she's also she had a great watch party. So everyone that went out to that watch party at Savage Tap, thank you for supporting our friend Heather. You got to watch a big Wolves win. And if you're looking for any real estate needs, if you're looking for anything with buying or selling that home, go contact Heather. She's a Wolves season ticket holder. She's a diehard. WolvesRealtor.com. You can go to the website, find any information. If there's any upcoming future watch parties or anything Wolves related on top of those real estate needs that you need for buying or selling your home, so go to WolvesRealtor.com. Get in touch with our friend Heather.
Okay, we got the sports dad here. We've got producer Dex, Phil Mackey, and we'll be live post game on the Score North YouTube channel throughout the duration of the series. So I'll be like via various hotels this week, traveling to a couple different like industry conventions in Toronto and Chicago. So I will not be in Target Center for games 1 and 2. You will be, Judd. So
yes,
you'll be live from the arena after these games. Do you want to start with the actual on-court matchup stuff, or do you want to go through some of the fun, juicy storylines to start this episode?
A door 2 for sure, not even close.
Okay. Because there's some good on-court stuff too, but we can get to it.
Yeah, but I mean, I want the smoke, I want the heat, I want what's juicy, and this is going to be juicy.
Okay, let's. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go into our random Wolves Warriors storyline generator here, and it'll choose one at random. Beep, burp, 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 burp. Jimmy Butler versus Timberwolves fans and the organization. Your thoughts on that juicy storyline going into the series?
I'm hoping it's outstanding. I'm hoping Wolves fans, and I don't think that they have. I'm hoping that they have not forgotten what an absolute pain in the ass this guy became.
I don't think they have.
That
well, he never plays here, so it's like fans have been waiting to clown.
But this is what I want. I want that. I'm just saying. I hope it delivers on what my expectation is, which is adversarial as hell. Like, the coaching staff has changed. The players, for the most part, have changed. Heck, Gerson Rosas was here. Tibbs was here before that. So a lot has changed. But what hasn't changed is the fans' disdain for this guy who made himself at every turn. And he eventually did the same thing to the Heat after doing it to the Sixers. Made himself such a pain in the ass that despite the fact he's a good player, it didn't become worth it. And I think that this could be fantastic. And then you said the most important thing, which is he hasn't played here since 2021 with the Heat. He has found a way basically to... and I went to the game. He came back with the Sixers as well and played here once and got booed a ton. I mean, hell, he got booed at the end here before he got traded by Wolves fans, and so did Tibbs. But this, to me, is going to be a highlight because Jimmy can't duck us. Jimmy can't get away from us now. Jimmy can't say, oh, my little toe hurts. Jimmy doesn't care about the regular season playing. Well, he does in the playoffs. He's going to have to play. I think this should be fantastic, and I hope Wolves fans bring the thunderous noise that they brought in the first round tenfold for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, in the intro of our show, bring your ass, Jimmy. Bring your ass to Target Center. Alan Horton tweeted this out yesterday. It's been 1,259 days since Jimmy Butler last played in a game at the Target Center.
Wow.
I always look at timelines and like that all the time. I was 2 months into dating my now wife when the last time Jimmy Butler played a game here, which was November of 2021. That was the last time Jimmy has played a game here at Target Center. So I think this is going to be awesome. I do think the Rockets probably would have posed an easier matchup on paper, but I think this matchup is going to be an absolute blast.
Yeah. The Rockets were. It would have been interesting because like they've got a lot of really good pieces. They're very well coached. They play good defense too. they can't really shoot. I feel like the Wolves, with a week of preparation, would have put the Rockets to sleep. And we'll get to some of the matchup stuff. I do think the Wolves match up very, very well with Golden State, but also you've got these three incredible Hall of Fame-bound veteran players, Steve Kerr. I was digging through some old Jimmy Butler media clips and just kind of going back to 6-7 years ago, and I found this gem of a Woj tweet from October 10th of 2018. At one point in the now famous scrimmage where he came back and played with the third teamers and then did the Rachel Nichols interview right after. According to sources, Jimmy Butler turned to general manager Scott Layden and screamed, "You effing need me. You can't win without me." Butler left teammates and coaches largely speechless. He dominated the gym in every way. Jimmy's back. It's kind of amazing because we celebrated that move. We were a little unsure. Man, did they just cut off their future to try and, like, they vaulted themselves into the Western Conference conversation, but right in the middle of a Golden State dynasty, so it felt like it was maybe mistimed. But Jimmy helped put the Timberwolves back in the playoffs for the first time in a decade and a half at the time. And we all thought, boy, this is his long-term spot. Tibbs is running the organization. Tibbs is his guy. Karl Anthony Towns is here as and even some of the other players that were still around, Wiggins. He's got these young guys that he can kind of carry forward. And Jimmy had no time for that. He had no time for Cat, did not get along with Cat. I think he respected Wiggins a little bit more, but he's like, I want nothing to do with these young players that could rejuvenate my career. I think they're soft. He's punking them at practice. And the way he handled it on the way out, I think if it were just a more amicable parting of ways, Wolves fans would have been like, oh, whatever. Hey, you know what? He got us back to the playoffs. But the way he nuked the bridge in such a public manner,
yes,
and kind of disrespected Minnesota and the Wolves, and at the time, like, he was right. The Wolves were a garbage organization. The Wolves did need him. They had not drafted Anthony Edwards yet, but a lot has changed in those 7 years.
Well, and as I recall, so the season after he helped get them to the playoffs, the opening day of training camp, he was not there. And he ultimately was mad because he didn't get paid. He felt, and perhaps rightfully so, that he should have gotten paid. But the reality was he used such destructive means to escape that it was ridiculous. And I mean, he became a petulant child. I just hope we get to hear Tuesday night the Rachel Nichols chant again. One of the greatest chants in the history of that building was when he was playing. I think it was the 2021 game for the Heat, and the fans were chanting Rachel Nichols. That was fantastic.
She might. I mean, she's still covering the NBA, doing stuff for.
But just the chant
Fox
was great because he couldn't wait to run off and do that. You know, sit down and explain his. It felt like he cared a little bit more about PR back then. I don't know. He cares as much now. But he definitely tried to spin that whole thing a little bit more in his favor. But I felt like it still just blew up.
Yeah. So that's going to be Jimmy Butler versus the Timberwolves. Organization fans, I fully expect fans to feel the same way they felt 4 years ago. They've been waiting 4 years for this moment.
Hell yeah.
And he can't duck them unless he wants to sit out playoff games now. So it's going to be fire in that regard. Okay, back to the random Wolves Warriors storyline generator. Beep, burp, 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 burp. Draymond Green versus Rudy Gobert. So you'll remember last year, Draymond tried to end Rudy's life on a basketball court, choking him from behind, put him in a rear naked chokehold. Then Draymond, after the Warriors' early exit, he was brought on board by TNT, and he also has his own podcast. He used TNT and his own podcast platform to clown Rudy Gobert every chance he got. So you're going to have the villainous Draymond Green versus, outside of Minnesota, also the villainous Rudy Gobert, matched up on each other maybe quite a bit in this series.
Again, I can't wait. I wanted this series so bad. Like, as Golden State blew this or started to, like Game 5, they don't close it out. Game 6, they don't. I was like, are we really going to have to watch the Rockets? And all respect to the Rockets. The Rockets, I'm sure, they look like they're a fine franchise on the right track. All due respect, I had no interest in seeing them.
Are they due respect, the Rockets?
All due respect to their success. They had a very nice season. They went from a non-playoff
Sam Cassell's not
team.
walking through that door. Hakeem Olajuwon is not walking through
Clyde
that
Drexler?
door.
Yao
But-
Ming
Clyde
ain't walking
Drexler.
through that door.
But anyway, I wanted this so bad, and I think the Draymond
Francis.
Gobert thing is going to be potentially so much fun because everybody hates Draymond, and a lot of people hate Gobert as well. But like, what's going to happen there? Like, what's going to take place? I'm very curious.
There's also, I would throw in, 'cause if this is like, the Jets and the Sharks West Side Story, you got the Goberts and the Greens, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, maybe Dante DiVincenzo. There's some really feisty role players that Julius Randle that aren't afraid to mix things up. The Warriors have some guys too. I do wonder if something will happen where ejections, suspensions, that's a real thing in this series, that especially after a game or two and things settle in.
Oh, the officials will
and the
be
hatred starts
watching
to
for it.
bubble.
Yeah.
Will this series be affected, by a guy missing a game because he got suspended or ejected for like a flagrant 2 or something? Like that's a real thing in the series.
If that takes place, Gobert, I know, is incredibly important to what the Wolves do. Where does Draymond's importance? Like, if Draymond gets suspended for a game, which is completely plausible, how much does that hurt them? Golden State.
He's still awesome on defense, and he's a great passer. Sometimes he can knock down shots. I mean, he hit a couple threes early in that game last night to give the Warriors a cushion. It'd be a huge loss for them. Now, there's an interesting X's and O's thing here where the lineup that they were rolling with to knock out Houston was probably even smaller than the Lakers lineup that they were playing 24 straight minutes in that game 4 against the Wolves. To what extent do the Warriors try to get a little more size on the court? Because if they roll that lineup out, and we'll talk more about that like the second part of the episode here, if they play that small against this Wolves team, I don't know that they're going to be able to make up for the lack of rebounding. And now they've done a good job with their smaller lineups of keeping opposing teams out of the paint. But yeah, there's some chess match stuff here. The Warriors would prefer to play as small as possible. The Wolves like to lean into their size. Mm-hmm. It worked out for the Wolves against the Lakers. Also, on the Draymond versus Rudy front, I feel like that's a matchup that, like, you might have a temptation because of the height difference if those guys are matched up against each other to try and get Rudy some more looks, right? To try and, hey, look what he did in the clincher game.
Yeah, no.
I would be careful about getting baited into that. I wouldn't be calling extra things for Rudy in this, because I think too many things could happen, and I also think that if you're just posting him up, it's going to be negative EV. Mm-hmm. So let that happen organically, I guess, is what I would say. Okay, beep, burp, burp, burp. Storyline generator. Anthony Edwards, legend killer, is another one here for this series. So he has now in the last 2 playoffs knocked out Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant. Some people take issue with me putting Devin Booker in the legends killer category. I think if Devin Booker's career ended this way, he would be a Hall of Famer. But, the NBA the Basketball Hall of Fame kind of puts anyone in. Luka Doncic, LeBron James.
Yep.
I see that meme going around with the Grim Reaper knocking on the doors. And up next is Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy. So your thoughts? By the way, no one has ever eliminated LeBron James and Steph Curry in the same postseason before. So your thoughts on Anthony Edwards and his legend killer journey continuing?
Oh, I can't wait for this, because I do think, like, that's the thing is, it felt like there's always been this thing of, well, Ant is fantastic, but he really respects these guys. He respects them to the point of he wants to kill their careers. So that's what I think people miss on. Like, he is a cold-blooded basketball assassin. And I don't think that's appreciated yet. And I don't know why, but hell, take out Jimmy, take out Draymond, just Steph alone. Like, if you can dagger Steph and add that to the pelts on your wall, oh my God. So, but I do think it's a real thing. And I'll be very interested to see, as far as the heart and soul thing goes, how much of the series revolves around Ant too. Because he clearly is, and he should be, he is the heartbeat of this team now. Like he is the singular. There's no like, oh, Cat is here. What about Cat? Don't offend Cat. Cat's gone, and now this team, its heartbeat goes through Ant. Like, everything goes through Ant. He's the captain. He's the spokesperson. And I think the more the pressure, especially as his career progresses, gets ratcheted up, the more he takes that on. Doesn't mean he always has great games. Game 5 against the Lakers was anything but a great game, but he's always a factor. Mm-hmm. So I am very curious to see, with the greatness that's going to be on the floor against the Wolves, how Ant is going to perform. And I don't think that we should dumb down our expectations, because I think it could be really, really cool.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that he's already been able to eliminate all these legends, basically, stealing the RKO Randy Orton legend killer. I'm all good with that, because I love Randy and I love Ant Edwards. But another pelt on the wall I'm imagining like Leatherface or like a horror film where there's just faces. There's just like, he has LeBron, he has Luka, he has the Joker. They're just their face mounted on Anthony Edwards' wall downstairs. It'd be awesome to add another one in Draymond and Steph. And this is just going to be a badass series, man. Like I was going to save this for statements, but I guess I'll kind of unleash it here too. If Timberwolves fans felt disrespected that no one was talking about them throughout the Lakers series or giving them enough credit, this is by far the most premier series in the second round of the playoffs. It's not even close. Like, you got Warriors and Wolves. I think this is going to be, if you wanted people to talk about the Wolves more, you're going to get it over the next week and a half.
Yeah, and this is every era of the NBA is a little different, because we talked about this last week. We went through a couple periods where the superstar that was taking over for the other superstar, they never actually met in the playoffs, like LeBron and Michael Jordan, or Kobe and LeBron. Like, they met in the regular season, not the playoffs. But back in the day, when it was MJ trying to take it from Magic and Bird and the Pistons, it was like MJ had to go through all of those teams in the Eastern Conference against the Pistons and the Celtics and end their runs, never to be seen again, and then do it to the Lakers and Magic Johnson in the 1991 NBA Finals. This is the equivalent modern day here. This is the path that Anthony Edwards could be on to become the best player, one of the top 3 players in the league, and do it by going through all these guys as their careers are coming to an end here. If the Wolves knock off the Warriors here, and it is Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, LeBron, Luka, Durant, Jokic, all in a 2-year span, I don't know that anyone has done anything like that before. Just the status of those players, out, eliminated. We'd have to do some research to see, did Kobe ever go on a run like that? I mean, there was the finals back 15 years ago against the Celtics where it was the Paul Pierce, KG, Ray Allen team.
Right.
But I'd have to go see like the Western Conference. I think he went through Dirk at one point. But this would be an incredible list of star players to put to sleep over a 2-year period. So Anthony Edwards, legend killer, definitely. Okay, beep, burp, 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 burp. Wolves, Warriors, storyline generator. How about the worst decision in Timberwolves / maybe NBA history, draft related, passing twice on Steph Curry in the first round? In the first 6 picks.
Yeah.
Back in 2009, which is something that was lamented for a long time until Anthony Edwards finally came around. But this is the first time that the Wolves have ever run into the biggest regret in franchise history in the playoffs before.
It's interesting, but I think the good thing is, like, for a long time, it was like at the forefront, right? Like, my God, you passed on. And I know that there were, at the time, reservations from the Curry camp about playing here, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I feel like now it's been offset at least somewhat, not totally, but somewhat by the fact that Gerson took Ant one, and there were different like, that was not a clear cut. If you go back to Ant, that was not a clear cut. This guy is the Jordan, or he is the clear number 1 pick. That was a few guys, and Gerson went with Ant. So in some ways, I feel like that pick right there, that moment in Wolves history, at least offsets some of the many, many bad decisions made. But if this had happened, if the Wolves had been halfway bleeping decent when Steph originally got drafted, or like was in his first 5 years, right? And they got Steph, I feel like then it's a storyline. Among the storylines that you just went through, to me, as if you're a Wolves fan, it's interesting now, but I don't think in any way, unlike the previous, I think you've done 3, it doesn't loom over the series, in my opinion, at all.
Yeah, I think it's more. I agree. It doesn't
history.
loom or linger over like maybe the Jimmy Butler stuff is more recent.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Draymond and Gobert stuff is more recent. This would be more symbolic in that you could put in this dynasty that you could have prevented by just making the right draft pick. Like if you make the right move on draft night, the Warriors do not win 4 championships and form one of the great 10-year runs in NBA history.
Yep.
So to be able to maybe sunset that thing 15 years later, which that's another thing here. Steph Curry's 36, Jimmy Butler's 35, Draymond Green's 34. If they get beat by the Wolves in this series, are we really expected to believe that they're going to dust themselves off then at ages 37, 36, and 35? They could make some tweaks on the fringes of the roster.
That's just about it.
And going to like make another championship run. This kind of feels like this is their last chance to win a championship, a 5th championship over this decade and a half stretch.
Agreed.
And it's viable. Like they're a really good team and they could absolutely win it. I don't think they'd be favorites in some of these series, but you could essentially put an end to the dynasty that you helped create with your draft night.
You kill the monster.
Yeah, that
you create the monster and kill the monster. Wow.
Yeah.
I like it.
So there's probably more where that came from too. Just juicy storylines going into this series. This is why we wanted it, because there's so many fun things. It's going to be absolutely crazy inside Target Center. I want to give you guys 3 things to keep an eye on with the actual on-court matchup as well. Just some little X's and O's things or some trends.
Nerd.
Shout out to Neos Elite Performance. So if you're gearing up, just you need one last little boost before this playoff series. I don't know. Maybe you should go to Neos Elite Performance. Check it out.
If you're a person who played hoops, let's say your entire life, and now you're too sore, joints hurt, Neos Elite Performance is going to help you through their cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy that's designed to get you going again. And here's the most important thing, folks, without invasive procedures. This is white glove service delivered to your home. In other words, they're going to come to your home. No trips to a doctor's, a hospital, knee, back pain, any pain. Stop the suffering now. Their therapies are designed to reduce that pain, restore function, and get you back to doing what you love. Also, if you mention our flagship show, Purple Daily, you're going to get $500 off. That's right, $500 off a cellular IV therapy treatment. No surgery, no downtime, just results. NeosElite.com, Neos Elite.com. Check them out.
Sometimes the only therapy you need is a parlor burger, Judd.
I got some exciting news for you folks out west. I have some breaking news. That is this. Parlor now has a new location in Excelsior, a supper club that's a regular.
I thought you were going to say San Francisco,
no, western suburbs, Excelsior. It's beautiful. And a regular parlor bar as well. Of course, they still have their 2 other outstanding locations in the North Loop in Minneapolis and St. Paul. But if you live out in the western suburbs and you have not tried the Parlor Burger, if you have not tried the chicken sandwich, if you want to go to a place that's got a great craft cocktail menu, Parlor Bar now in Excelsior, the North Loop, and St. Paul, all outstanding. Starts with great service and also fantastic food.
All right. The actual on-court matchup is also fascinating here because these 2 teams have not played each other since before the trade deadline. They played 4 games against each other, in which the Warriors went 3-1 in those 4 games, all before like the middle of January. And the trade deadline was first week in February. So the Warriors are a much different and better team with Jimmy Butler in the fold. But I would also argue the Wolves are a much deeper and better team post like January 15th with Julius Randle finding his way. And this is the best he's played over a stretch in terms of winning basketball.
Not the same team at all. I agree.
Yep. So neither one of these teams, it's kind of like the Lakers. The Wolves and Lakers got all of their games out of the way early and or had key pieces injured, so you didn't really know. But one thing to note, the Warriors rode a small ball lineup against Houston till the very end. So in that game 7, you had Draymond and Jimmy as the starting bigs, quote unquote, the starting bigs at what, 6'6", 6'7" ish with shoes. And then you had Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, and Brandon Podziemski, or Pods, as we will probably call him for the series, with just the 3-point shooting and the layers of offense that those guys bring. So that worked really well against Houston. They played for much of Game 7. They played a zone defense that made Houston make shots or not, and Houston's not a great shot-making team. And what I would counter back with if I was the Timberwolves, say, well, listen, the Lakers tried to go small, and you saw what happened to them out in 5 games. Of course, the counter to that would be, was it the small lineups? Now, Game 5, yes, the Wolves and Gobert feasted on the boards, the offensive rebounds, the extended possessions. I think fatigue was more of a factor than size in most of those fourth quarter collapses by the Lakers. Are the Warriors as likely to be out of shape? Like Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry can run around for 45 minutes, unlike Luka Doncic, who's laying on the ground wheezing for air after 3.5 quarters. So the Warriors would like to play small. The Wolves would like to play big. I'm sure there's going to be some people that bring up Rudy Gobert getting played off the court again. But the difference is when the Warriors play small, they don't have 5 great 3-point shooters because Draymond Green is a guy that you would leave open comfortably, even if he's making some. Like, he is not a great 3-point shooter. Jimmy Butler has not had a great 3-point shooting. He's not a guy that's going to sit out there and launch 7 or 8 of those things. So that I actually think the Wolves match up better against the Warriors' small lineup than maybe against some of those Lakers' quote-unquote smaller lineups.
I do think it's important that Golden State went to 7 games with a veteran team, and the Wolves got done in 5.
Yep.
I think that's good for one, rest, but also here's a factor. What about scouting as well? Like Finchy, when Finchy's had time, I don't think we can complain about his game plans. And in the regular season, I don't really care when you play a team. The regular season, 1 game and a playoff series to me are so different. Like, I don't ever judge like a year ago, right? The Wolves lost to the Suns in the last regular season game. This certainly means the Suns are going to roll past the Wolves. Well, you start the series and it's entirely different. It's got a tone to it. It's got scouting, but I don't think that we can discount. One is Golden State is not a young team that got pushed to 7 games, far from ideal if you are them. And 2, what are the curveballs Finch throws? Because he's consistently done that and he's done a great job.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is an advantage Wolves here based on the rest and based on the fact that Finch has shown his ability to put in a scouting plan, if given the time, has been pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think history shows that based on all the circumstances you just said, the Game 7 going into a Game 1, it's like 46-hour turnaround, and the Wolves have been sitting and resting and scouting. You should get Game 1. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Wolves to get Game 1 because the team in Golden State's position that's traveling after the Game 7, you're kind of punting Game 1 in some ways, and you're hoping to maybe steal Game 2. So, if the Warriors somehow get Game 1, then it's series on. Settle in for maybe a 6 or 7 game series.
Right, but then I do think that there is a conversation then if it is going to be a longer series of, are the Warriors going to start to wear down then too? Because again, they played up to 7. So anyway, I find it hard to compare the regular season, if guys hadn't been out. I find it hard to compare that because playoff series in basketball take on such a different tone and the matchups can change. And there's just a lot of things that Chris Finch and Steve Kerr, quite frankly, can change about it.
Yeah. On the size thing, one last thing on that and 2 other things of note on the court. But if the Warriors put the 5-man starting lineup out that they used to close out Houston, the Wolves would have, I think, the 3 tallest players on the court with their starting lineup. Gobert would be like 5 inches taller than the tallest Warrior starter. Jade McDaniels would be 2 or 3 inches taller. Julius Randle would be 3 inches taller. And then Anthony Edwards is taller than 3 of the players on the court. And Mike Conley is the only one that kind of settles in there. So they would have a huge height advantage. What's crazy about that series against the Rockets, Steph Curry led the Warriors in rebounds with 41 total rebounds. He had 10 in the closeout game. And then it was Draymond with 39 rebounds, and Jimmy Butler had 36. So The Warriors, they find ways to they play great team defense, which we'll get to, and they kind of rebound in a pack. And they move the ball around. It's not quite like the Lakers where they're playing a lot of isolation ball. That brings me to my next interesting on the court matchup storyline here, which is that the Warriors, since the trade deadline, are the number one defense in the NBA in terms of defensive net rating. They just held the Rockets under 90 points twice in the first round, game 1 and the closeout game 7. They had a lot of success with a zone defense against they basically said, we're going to play some zone here, and we're going to make you young players, you whippersnappers who can't shoot consistently, beat us with your shot making. Mm-hmm. And they really couldn't. I think the Wolves learned a lot in that fourth quarter against Milwaukee a few weeks ago. The Bucks went zone, and the Wolves stared at it like they had never played basketball before, and they blew that 24-point lead. Anthony Edwards dissected a couple different Lakers zones and pointed to the Lakers bench in that series saying, I'm a new man. I've been doing my homework. So, and the Wolves are a better shooting team than Houston too. They have ways where they can get a Mike Conley open shot. You know, you can bring on DiVincenzo and Naz Reid to take shots over the zone. So I don't know that that's going to be the Warriors' tactic, but if they don't play zone, the Wolves have some height advantages. One more note on the Warriors' defense. They were one of the best defenses in the NBA this year at preventing shots at the rim with that defensive shell that they play. You'd think, they're giving up the height advantage, so they must get their business handed to them at the rim. They prevent a lot of shots at the rim from even happening by playing a zone. So that's an interesting chess match to look out for. Can the Wolves can they use their height advantage, Jaden McDaniels in that paint range, right, Rudy Gobert, to push more shots into the restricted area? We'll see.
I can't wait for this. This is going to be so much fun.
And then I'll give you one more here. The Wolves sometimes struggle with high ball movement teams that pass a lot. So the two teams that average the most passes per game in the NBA were the Warriors and the Pacers, and then there was a huge gap. And now those teams are both like really good teams that have a winning record against the league, but the Wolves were 1-5 against those teams. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Is just like the bing bing bing. It's not going to be Luka hunting pick and roll for 20 seconds and doing his Luka thing. It's going to be a lot of running through screens, chasing Steph Curry around, chasing Jimmy Butler around, whereas the Lakers offense was a little stagnant and isolation heavy. The Warriors try to tire you out, make Steph Curry go through 8 screens running around and get a wide open look, or Buddy Hield. So this is where, like, if you can play a 9th guy for 10 minutes, this might be a Jalen Clark series, because he can run around, fight through screens. Absolutely. And absolutely. So those are just some interesting on-court matchup things that I spotted.
That's also where scouting helps a lot, though. Like that. That's where I'm sure that, and I think the Wolves have had something like 3 or 4 practices since the first round got done. That's where you could definitely work on things like that. And if you were going to play the Lakers on January 15th, there'd be no time to work on it. You just be screwed, and you would try hard. In this case, that's where the playoffs are fun.
Yeah.
It's not that you're just trying hard. You're actually going in with a football-like game plan. So.
Yep. And they've been, under Chris Finch, largely they've been really good in game ones, just getting out to great starts and kind of ambushing teams. So this will probably be the last Flagrant Howls that we drop before the post-game show tomorrow night with Judd at Target Center. And I'll be live from a hotel room, hopefully with high-quality internet. We'll get that
a small motel, unidentified, in a state we don't know.
Yes, or a country maybe that you don't know.
Or a province, perhaps.
A province, yeah. So, all right, we're super pumped. It's Wolves Warriors. It's the most fun series. It's going to have a bright national spotlight, and it's another chance for Anthony Edwards to put some pelts on the wall. For producer Dex, for sports dad Judd, I am Phil, and this is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.